I've been using 8 Sleep now for several months and am a huge fan of what they offer. We often focus on strength, cardio and mobility to get more life in our life, but then neglect the fact that sleep is probably the most important thing out of all of those. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what the best things are about the 8 Sleep Pod 3, as well as the things that I don't like so much and I wish they would be better at. And most importantly, especially for something at this price point, I'm going to tell you what their customer service is like when things stop working the way you want them to do, which is what happened to me. Let's get cracking. Well, what is the Pod 3? So whether you go for the Pod 3 cover or the Pod 3 cover and their mattress, it's the Pod 3 cover that does all the magic. There's a thin layer of water in there, and there's a pod that sits next to your bed, and the pod heats the water or cools the water, more importantly in my case, and then sends it round the Pod 3 cover, which either keeps you cool or keeps you warm at night. And you can choose a temperature between -10 or +10, or if you prefer more traditional temperatures, you can use Fahrenheit or Celsius. My temperature range is like -5, so halfway towards its max cooling is plenty for me. And on the plus side, I don't use the plus side, but my wife says +3 is probably the hottest that she wants to get in bed. It also has an autopilot function, so during the night it will monitor what you're doing in bed, and it will measure your deep, your REM, your light, and also the times you're awake in the night. And it will optimize them by changing the temperature within the bed, so making sure you spend the right amount of time in each zone. It really is very clever. It also helps you create good routines around your sleeping, so the next day those go on to help improve your physical and your mental performance. And at the risk of crashing my watch time on this video, it does exactly what it says on the tin. If you share a bed with somebody, then you will have your own side. So my side is generally colder than my wife's side. However, one feature I really like is that if one of us is away, then the whole bed will just become the zone of the person who's sleeping in the bed. When you open the app, you get your home screen here, and I'll come back to last night's report, but what you can see here is you've got my side of the bed, you've then got my wife's side of the bed. And as you can see here, here's my temperature schedule. So when I go to bed, I set it to -5, which is very cold. When I go into deep sleep, it then drops down to -4, -3 for REM. And then when I wake up, it's still at -3 until I get out of bed. Now, if I look at last night, there were 6 updates during the night, and this is part of their autopilot function. And as the night went on, you can see that it made changes just to optimize each part of my sleep schedule. With the temperature dial, it goes all the way down to -10, which, I mean, I can imagine that would be extremely cold, and all the way up to +10, which, well, I would find quite unpleasant. So generally, as I've mentioned, I stick to the ranges of between -5 and maybe +2, but mostly I'm over here on the minus sides. And right now it's quite warm in the UK, it's summer, and the best way I can kind of explain how it feels is, you know, in the winter when you get into bed and your bed is freezing and you can't wait for it to warm up, and then you get warm and cozy. Well, imagine having that winter bed on a hot night. So it can be like, I don't know, say 25 degrees in our bedroom, which is about 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And then you're just slipping into these like winter cold sheets. It's really hard to explain because it doesn't feel like anything else I've ever experienced, a really cold bed on a hot night. But it does help me get to sleep quickly. I do have a great night's sleep with the 8 Sleep Pod 3 cover, and I do wake up feeling refreshed. It's a genuine product, and I do value it as much as I do, say, one of my treadmills or one of my exercise bikes, which are a similar price. But with a treadmill, I might spend 3 hours a week on a treadmill, but I'd probably spend 50+ hours in bed. So the value that I get from the 8 Sleep is actually, I don't want to say more, but it's at least matched by what I will be doing in my gym during the day. And I do kind of get it when people don't quite get it. I mean, I've got half a century without having one of these, and there's no reason why I wouldn't carry on without one. But having one means that I just feel so much better. And if it were to break, for instance, then I would 100% buy another one. One of the downsides is though, if we go away for a weekend and I'm in a very nice bed somewhere else, I really notice the drop in sleep that I get from when I'm away from my 8 sleep. The data from 8 sleep is also very good. Now, one thing I wanted to do for the first few weeks, I just corroborated it with my Whoop. The reason being is it's a product that helps you optimize your sleep. So I kind of thought it's a bit like marking your own homework. If they're then giving you sleep data, where's their incentive to tell you that you've not had a very good night's sleep? So by corroborating it with my Whoop, I was able to match what my Whoop says to what my 8 sleep says. They're very comparable in the sleep data they give me. I would say perhaps the 8 sleep is slightly more optimistic than the Whoop about my sleeping. However, there's a lot more sensors in the 8 sleep that are actually measuring how I'm sleeping. So if we look at last night's data, for instance, you can see that they've scored at 99 and a good night's sleep. It certainly felt like that. And I can click on the quality of my sleep, and you can notice there that it's within 80 to 100% most nights. And for the last 3 months where I've been using the 8 sleep, you can see that it's been consistently that good. If I look at my sleep routine, you can see that it's actually improving month on month. And if we look at the last week, apart from Monday, which I just had something on, so I didn't get to bed at the time that I would normally get to bed, my sleep routine is generally excellent. You also get some data about your resting heart rate. You can see that mine was 59 last night, and you can see here the exact point where my middle-aged man bladder said I needed to get up and go to the toilet. My HRV is also there. This is kind of like your readiness score. And the 8 sleep's also measuring my breath rate and telling me that it's within my normal range. When I look at my sleep stages, you can see them here. So my deep sleep is generally more towards the earlier part of the night, and then I have more REM sleep as the night goes on, as well as light sleep. You can also see my sleep latency here. So if I look at the time it takes me to fall asleep, last night it was 11 minutes. The optimal range is 0 to 30 minutes. And since getting the 8 sleep, my time to get to sleep has actually been slowly improving. And with all this data, I've been able to build some really good sleep routines and have benefited during my wake time as a result. Within the app, you've also got things like sleep meditations, which are excellent. If you can't sleep, just put on one of their sleep meditations, and I can't guarantee, but I'll be very surprised if you actually hear the end of it. They've also got things like bedtime yoga, as well as other meditations on there as well. My wife comes from a long line of nighttime thinkers. And when we first got the 8 sleep, we both had the best night's sleep we've ever had for years. And mine has continued to be that good ever since. My wife still has periods where she's awake in the night, but these have reduced quite substantially, and she does say that she's very comfortable while she's laying awake wondering if the back door's locked. Now, there is something that we don't particularly like about the 8 sleep, and that is their alarm function. So they've got 2. So the first one is a vibration alarm, which actually is good, but even though we don't use it. And what that does is, say for instance you want to get up at 6 a.m, that will start to gently vibrate the 8 sleep, and then it will just kind of wake you up very gently and set you off into the day. And you can have sides. So if you get up earlier than your wife or your partner, for instance, then you can have your side gently vibrating while they're still asleep. However, I would say that even on perhaps the lowest settings, on say 3 or 4, they may still feel that vibration. And because it is so gentle, you have to then reach for your phone to turn the vibration off. A couple of times I've found that I've just kind of nodded off again. So I really appreciate the gentle wake up. However, the screaming sound, which I hate, of my alarm does make sure that I am actually awake, although I'm pretty annoyed. The other alarm on the 8 sleep is a heat alarm. And how that works is, as you're due to get up, it will either cool the bed to make it so cold that you wake up, or it will heat the bed to make it so hot that you wake up. And it does work. However, I just don't really understand why you would spend so much effort on getting such a good night's sleep only to wake up cold or sweaty. I just don't quite understand that one. When it comes to price, the 8 Sleep Pod 3 cover, I mean, it is a premium product and it's not particularly cheap. So I've got the king size Pod 3 cover and I've got a perfect fit, and it's got perfect fit. So that means if I was to change my mattress in the future, as long as it was the same size, the same king size mattress, even if the depth was different, it would fit my new mattress. And I paid about 2,200, and that was for the Pod 3 cover as well as the first year subscription. I mean, it is expensive. But I'll put a link in the description and that will take you to their website, and that should also give you a small discount as well. And in addition to giving you a small discount, it does help support the channel, which is greatly appreciated. And there's also a subscription with the 8 Sleep, and it's up to you whether you continue it after the first year. Because I like the data it gives me and the software updates that come along with the subscription, then when it's up for renewal next year, I will continue to use it. But if, for instance, you decided after year one, you just wanted the functionality without all the data, you might be using something else, for example, for your data, then you don't need to carry that subscription on. The last thing I want to talk about is customer service. So at this price point, you want to have really good customer service, don't you? And I had a problem with my 8 Sleep, and it kind of went a bit like this. So the pod that's next to your bed has a fan in it, and the fan is very quiet. It's just like, I'm kind of sensitive to fans, air conditioning, and you know, like if you have an ensuite or if you're in a hotel room and they've got that fan on in the bathroom, even when the light's off, I always just switch that off. These things bother me. But with the 8 Sleep, the noise is, and if you know who these guys are, and this was your Star Trek generation, you know when they're on the bridge and then of the NCC 1701D, I might edit that out, and there's that very kind of subtle noise in the background, which is the walk core engine, walk core motors. It's a bit like that. So it's very much a really subtle, quiet, white noise. And I actually think it aids me in going to sleep. However, for some reason unknown to me, one night it started to get slightly louder. So it was still fine. It was still that white noise in the background. It just wasn't quite as quiet as before. I contacted customer services, who responded really quickly to say that they were sorry that it got slightly noisier and they would send a quiet mode upgrade to the Pod 3. And they would reach out to me and see how it went. And I kind of thought, well, yeah, okay, whatever. And then I went to bed and it was even quieter than when I first bought it, which was really impressive. And true to their word, they emailed me the next day to say, how's it going? I said, it's going really well, I'm really impressed. However, can you contact me in a week just to make sure I'm still as happy? And then 6 days later, they contacted me again to ask me if I was happy, to which I said yes. So my experience with customer service, although limited to one event, has been that it's excellent. So in conclusion, after using the 8 Sleep Pod 3 cover now for a few months, I'm really impressed with it. And like I mentioned before, if out of warranty it breaks, I would 100% just buy another one. I really wouldn't want to be without it. I'm not quite as laid back as people think I am, but when I'm using the 8 Sleep, I wake up feeling more refreshed, my days are more productive, my workouts are better, and I generally feel a lot more chilled out as a result. And this is all down to what the 8 Sleep gives you, which is a better quality sleep and a better quality sleep routine. And as mentioned, I'll put a link in the description if you decide to buy one or you want to check out their current prices, and there should be a small discount there as well. And if you want to see my unboxing video and my first impressions of the 8 Sleep, then I'll put that here as well. Well, I hope you found this video useful, and until next time, see you soon.